okay, well, Christianity doesn't fit for me, right? Or the way I see other people practicing Christianity doesn't fit for me. So fuck God. Like that's the conclusion that we've come to. I'm gonna talk about a very interesting topic today, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about faith and about God and about religion and just what necessities those things play in our life, you know? I think it's a really interesting conversation to have. It's a very much more philosophy-driven conversation today. So it's not like I'm not gonna try and recruit you into any type of like, you need to be a Christian or like, you know, you need Jesus or you're gonna go to hell. It's not gonna be any type of conversations like that. But more a philosophical conversation about what is the purpose of these things. Like, why do we have Christianity and Islam and Hinduism and Buddhism and Confucianism and Zoroastrianism and you know, all these different types of religious practices or spiritual practices. Why do those exist, and what benefits can those bring into our life? And should we even pay any attention to that stuff? I'm really excited to talk about that a little bit. And so obviously I grew up Christian. Well, not obviously. I grew up Christian. I'm from America, and most Americans, if you have any type of religious belief, more than likely are going to be a Judeo-Christian of some sort. But, you know, obviously there's a lot of other religions that are predominant in the world in other areas. But I grew up as a Christian, you know, non-denominational. We just kind of went to church, and it was about like the Bible, and it was about Jesus Christ, you know, and like God. And that was my idea of spirituality growing up, was like the Bible, you know. And like I grew up kind of like, you take the Bible as like the real shit, like this is the word of God, as they would say. And so that was always a really confusing thing as a kid. You know, it's not confusing, but just as a kid, you were just like, okay, cool, I'm subservient to this like God thing out here, this guy. And you think it's a guy. Like don't get fucked up. If you was raised a Christian, I'm more 90% positive you see God as this white bearded man figure, right? Even if you don't see him, like you see him as this man type idea. And so that's how I grew up too. I was just like, God's this man, and this man tells you what to do. and I think, and maybe you guys can type out a little bit about your general consensus of what religion is, or Christianity in particular. But, you know, that's the kind of viewpoint I had of it. And as I started getting older, particularly when I started to, you know, get into high school and have my own views of the world and what I thought about, and I'll never forget the first thing that I started to get into conflict with the church about was, and I was deep into the church now, you know, like I was on the step team and we went every Sunday. I went to Wednesday Bible studies and shit. Like I was deep into shit. When I started having conflict was in high school. I had gay best friends, right? I had a lot of friends that were gay. They were homosexual and stuff. And the Bible, and well, not necessarily the Bible, but the Bible kind of, and Christianity as an institution is very anti that, right? And so I kept getting fucked up. I was like, how could, not fucked up in the sense of them calling this a sin or whatever. It's like, whatever. But how could people who claim to love, right, and they're all about this like love of God and love thy neighbor and that you don't really have the right to judge, but God does, you know? All of a sudden I was watching these people pass all kinds of judgment on other people, and we're like, you know, condemning these people. And I was like, well, how can you do that? You're not the God, you know, you're just the person. Like me. And so, and like, even if God doesn't fuck with this shit, then don't you think like God will deal with that? You don't have to come out here and try and like oppress those people or hate those people, or, you know, it just didn't seem right. That seemed like a conflict to me in the what I had learned or what I thought that this shit was about, and then seeing it in practice, I was like, yo, there's some fuck shit going on here. That was one of the main reasons I stopped believing going to church, all the judging and hate, right? Absolutely. You know, that was a big turnoff to me, because I was just like, yo, like, it just didn't seem like all of a sudden I seen the chink in the armor. You know, as a kid, you just kind of was like, yeah, God, woo. And you read the stories and it was like, God, you know, thank you for Jesus. He helps, you know. But as you get older and you start really, you have to defend these ideas, in real life. People will be like, you believe in that shit? And I'm like, yeah, I believe in that shit. And they're like, what about this and this? And I'm like, well, I don't know, it's not like that. So as I started learning, I was like, all right, there's some shit that's off here. But what has that kind of done for us? A lot of people have come to this conclusion. Like, I'm not the first person to come to this, like, I think the Bible is kind of hogwash. But it wasn't, like I said, you see the inconsistencies of the institution that is Christianity or church or religion, and then there's the idea of God or spirituality or faith, right? There's an incongruence in those. But there's an incongruence in a lot of shit out here, right? It doesn't mean that it doesn't have a purpose. But you see the same reaction over and over from us as humans. We see our politicians, right? That's like you need politics and you need like leaders and government, right? To keep an organization flowing. But we've watched people misuse that shit over and over. And so we think that the system is bad. But it's not the system that's necessarily bad. It's the people that are using the system that are misconstruing it, right? And I found that this is a later, right? But that's kind of how I felt like this situation is now too, is people have been misusing the idea of Christianity, right? Or the idea of the Bible. But because of that, right? That misuse, it's a habit of ours to label that thing as bad, right? So, like I said, if I've watched people use this religion in a bad way, then I automatically be like, well, that's fucking hogwash. It's all shit. They're all corrupt. Everybody's fucked. And it's all just hockamamie bullshit. And then you default away. I get that. And I did that. That's kind of what everybody does. I was just like, all right, I overcorrected in the sense of saying, I'm just going to kind of renounce all this stuff and start calling it bullshit, right? It's like somebody said it's a cult. It is a cult, of course, but why is that a bad thing? Is the question, really. Not that it is what it is, but why is that a bad thing? But I immediately was like, all right, this isn't real. I used to say God isn't real. Now I say God is real. Either way, I still believe the same thing. Fascinating. Okay. Interesting. And I'm going to get to what I think about that in a sense too. But I'm just trying to get everybody caught up in my history of this. So that way when I start talking about these ideas, you kind of know where I'm coming from, right? And so I was like, all right, fuck this. This is dumb. This doesn't make no sense. But I still felt this hole in me because I really did believe in the idea of a God, Maybe I didn't know if this God was like a man or something, but I was like, there's got to be something bigger out here than me. That's where I was stuck. I was like, okay, they might be on some fuck shit here, but there's definitely something going on out here. Because, how are these mountains just mountaining? I was just like, look, this is what all I knew is as I looked around in the world, I was like, there's a lot of shit going on that's just going on, and I don't understand it. So something has to kind of make all this shit go, right? Whether you call this energy or you call it a God or whatever the fuck you're gonna call it, right? I was just noticing that there's something that's making this shit happen. This idea of coincidence, I couldn't really get down with that just because even if you were gonna believe it's a coincidence, then that's a mighty fucking fine coincidence that's happening around here over and over and over. Like there's a lot of coincidence. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Like there's a lot of life out here for all of this to have been an accident. You know what I mean? Like I just couldn't get down with that. So I couldn't get down with this idea that gay people were fucked or that were bad people, right? Because I'm experiencing these people and they were awesome people, and I'm full of love for those people. But then at the same time, I couldn't get down with this God's dead and God's not real and it's all fake cockamamie bullshit. So I started to say there's got to be something in the middle. And as I started to learn more about philosophy, as I got older, I started realizing I was really into this shit. This idea of studying why things are the way they are, right? Like I was just obsessed with that. And that's where I started. What most people do is when you default away from the church or religion or God, what do you have to fall back on to define reality of why things are the way they are? And I've talked about this a couple times. What do we all default to? To science, right? It's like, well, it's like this idea that science is here and religion is here and they're at odds with each other. They're battling. one's going to be the superior idea. That's the way it seems to be going on around me as I see it. And it's the same thing, you're trying to believe in science, but I was starting to realize science isn't really talking about why, though. Like every time they're like science, they're like, this is, the sky is blue because of this, and that, and oxygen is coming around and doing this, and atoms become molecules that become this and that, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, okay. I'm following all this. This does that does this. You're stating facts to me, and facts are dope, right? It's like, this is what you know, this is what you're observing, right? Is reality. So it's like, this a cup. You see this? This is a cup. It's like, okay. But what the fuck did you really, why is it a cup? What the fuck am I supposed to do with a cup? Why the cup? Why is this not a fork? Why is this not a bowl? Why is this not a rock? Why is this a cup? You see what I'm saying? That's where I was stuck. I said, okay, fine, atoms, molecules, and all this, but why that? Why atoms? Why molecules? Why the fuck do humans exist? We all want that answer, right? We all want to know. Why am I here? What's the purpose of all this? And it's funny that we're all devoid of this all of a sudden. We're all looking around and we're like, what's the purpose? Why I do this all the time? Why I just keep buying this junk? Why I live this life? Like, you know what I mean? A search for why is inherent in your nature as a human being. You want to know why. And you try and turn to science, but you quickly realize science is not good at telling you why. It's good at telling you how so that you can make better shit. So it gave you an iPhone, and that's dope. That's dope. You love your iPhone. You're like excited. But I think all humans inherently start to understand that this is all just tools, right? So you're just making tools out of the stuff that you have. But what's the purpose of a tool, right? What do you need a phone for? What do you need a shovel for? What do you need fire, right? These things have purposes. And so anyways, the point is you just build tools. You build fancy more tools. You used to live in a teepee hut. Now you live in a house. What's the difference? What's the difference? Now I live in an apartment complex. 1,000 years ago, I lived in a teepee hut. What's the difference? The air conditioning. That's the you know what I mean? That's the difference. Air conditioning, a pool. I got a swimming pool. But it's the same shit. You're just living on a rock out here. So it's like science devoids you of this purpose-driven type situation. And that's where I ended up and that's where I fell, and that's where a lot of society is falling right now. And that's what brings me to my hypothesis of why do you need God? Or why do you need religion, right? Why is religion have a purpose? Because, guys, you can call this fake cockamamie bullshit you want to, and I did. Again, you want to talk about coincidence, right? This shit is proliferated for a long time. Like, you think we're the first smart motherfuckers out here to be like, this fake? Nobody else for thousands of years could figure out that shit wasn't real? No, there's a purpose for this, right? And it's in story. It's in telling yourself why. You'll often hear me explain that story is the purpose of your life. Story is what drives you. It's funny how the Bible is a bunch of stories. It's myths. It's things that you can idealize, right? It's like, it's a way of thinking of how things could be or why things might be or just whatever, learning and exchanging information, ideas, and beliefs and power. There's power in beliefs, you know? When you hear these stories of heroes and people overcoming these crazy, difficult tasks and challenges, or when you hear of somebody who's using certain principles or ideas to live a more fulfilled or happier, exciting life, that's powerful, because when you hear that, you can adopt that as well in your own life. You know what I mean? So as I started to come out in the world and I started to study for this why outside of just Christianity, right? And science, I started to say, okay, well, why do Hindus think I'm doing this shit? Why do Buddhists think that? Why did they create sun gods and all these things? Why have we always, every single human civilization of all time had a god? Every single one. Whether they called it the sun, whether you called it Jesus Christ, or you called it Horus, or you called it fucking energy, science led to be like, well, there's no God. A lot of scientists believe in God, by the way. Tons of them. But, you know, if you look up any scientific fact, it's a phenomenon. It's the phenomenon of gravity. What does that mean? You don't fucking know. You don't know power does. Hey, there's gravity. Thanks. Why? Who fucking knows? God. Energy. Life. Right? Something just provides these things. Well, that's God, and you could call it whatever the fuck you want to. And we fought for thousands and thousands of years of just what it's named. That's wild to me. It's like, well, I got the right name. No, I got the right name. Who gives a shit? Right? Who gives a shit? But the point is, we can't overcorrect in the sense of saying, okay, well, Christianity doesn't fit for me, right? Or the way I see other people practicing Christianity doesn't fit for me. So fuck God. Like that's the conclusion that we've come to, is that because I can't prove its logical, definitive, like realness, right? Not that you can't perceive God. That's the funny thing about it. That's what I used to tell people all the time too. They were like, why you believe in this shit? And I was like, well, it's definitely not because of what the book told me. Like, it's not about the words that I've read here in this book, or what this dude who sits up here and puts this fucking funny suit on tells me either. I felt this shit. Like I said, I look around me and I see this shit in action. So to me, that's the fundamental belief of it. It's not about somebody told me, it's something I felt that. And so I think a lot of us can feel that, whether we call it whatever we want to call it. But when you devoid that from your life, when you look around at life and society and all this stuff, when you strip that away, the idea of belief in something greater and powerful, more powerful than yourself, something that inherently provides purpose to the machine. And even if you don't understand the purpose as your little piece of it, you know that, hey, there is a purpose, right? You have this belief that something else out here is directing and guiding this and making you with an intention to do and create and to be a part of this. And this gives you an inherent why. Why do I do what I do? Well, because I believe in a lot of things. I believe that if I put out this type of energy, these good faiths and these good works and these good vibrations and stuff, that I will attract in return those vibrations and that type of energy from the place and thing that gives energy. Right? So that's fucking dope. It's a useful idea to have, even if it's not backed by some type of book, right? But it's a belief. And we all have beliefs. Whether it's just like the rest of life. You can't put your beliefs in a box. So you have a hard time figuring out if you're a Republican or a Democrat, right? It's because you're kind of both. It just depends on what you're talking about at the time and how that relates to you of what you are. But the idea that you have ideas is true, right? So same thing with like belief, right? You might not really be Christian and you might not really be Islamic and you might not, who knows, right? You might believe a little bit in science and you believe a little bit in Christianity and you believe a little bit in yourself, right? And that part of you somewhere believes that all this is bullshit and none of it's real. Part of me has a strong belief that I'm in the Matrix. Like I be believing that shit. Like every time I look around, I'll be like, how do you know? You know what I mean? Like that movie's off. You could be plugged in right now. You could just be plugged in. How do you know you're not? You believe you're not, or you believe you are. But you see that? How belief is inherent. It's fundamental. I don't care what you call it. I don't care what you believe you're going to wake up tomorrow. You don't know that. You don't know that. You think you might. You hope you do, but you don't know. None of us do. None of us do. And it cracks me up because you wonder why you're so, not you, but people, they wonder why they're so stressed and they're so overwhelmed and they're so lost, right? It's because you think you're out here by yourself. I could only imagine, dude, there's a lot going on. Like I said, I don't know what happens next, but I have faith and that helps me. That helps me relax out here. Where I see a lot of people have all this type of anxiety and pressure on themselves to perform and do and be. And it's like, I gotta, if I don't come out here and make it, and those guys, blah. And I laugh because I came to this revelation one day when I was like, man, look at this beautiful tree out here. I have this beautiful tree outside my house. These beautiful trees. There's a beautiful palm tree right there, And it's there. It's there every day. Every day I come outside, I look at it, it's there. Time I come back in, when I go to sleep, it's there. And I always think, man, how nice is it that the tree just gets to be the tree? It doesn't constantly ask itself if it's being a good tree, or if it doesn't wonder what life would be like as a rock, or anything like that, right? It just is. It's not like, oh, I better make sure I get water tomorrow. I gotta come out here and make sure I make it rain. The tree is not like, I gotta make it rain, right? Tree's hoping it rains. Tree gonna collect the fuck out of that rain when it falls, but it just trees. It just does. And the world, the universe, the energy provides the sun. It provides the rain. It just provides the fucking soil. It just does. The tree doesn't have to ask or beg or fucking fight for it. You know what I mean? We're all out here fighting. You gotta come out here and fight to win and survive, and you gotta make it, and if you don't make it, then you're gonna die. And you're provided for. You are a tree. You are a plant. You came from the same 10% of the little Earth's crust as everything else out here, and something in that provides you with the shit you need. It's funny how people act like food doesn't grow in the fucking ground. It just comes out the ground. You realize that, right? Like, this idea, well, I need money because I gotta feed myself. You can eat grass. Did you know you can eat grass? You can actually survive. Now, I'm not sure how long you can survive, but you know what I'm saying? Food is out here. There's plenty of places to get food. But because people lack faith in the overall arching system, the God, the providing force, the energy, the life-giving thing. You know, it cracks me up. It cracks me up. And so, I mean, look, like I said, I've fallen ultimately in the place that I don't know, right? And that's a powerful place to be in the sense of, like, after studying all these different places, and even now today, I can't tell you, you know what I mean? I don't know who the God is, who of us is spiritually, morally upstanding or whatever, right? That's semantics. That is packaging. It's a wrapper, right? The nitty gritty of it, though, the meat and potatoes of the shit, is that there's something out here that's greater than you, and that it provides. And having faith, right? That's what I really hope to impress upon you guys in this conversation is, and myself too, you know, that I always try to reaffirm myself is, fine, you don't want to be a Christian, or you don't want to follow that book, right? You don't want to follow that story. I get that. Like you said, that story doesn't fit you. Or that story, I fuck with gay people. So it's like, you know, I can't fuck with your story. Fine. But you need a story. Okay? Life is about a story. And so either you're going to write that story, or you're going to have faith. Even when you have faith in science, right? Like, we just all believing in science together. But we're all believing that shit. You know, we're all buying into the story that you've never seen an atom a day in your life. Okay? You have never, ever, 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 ever witnessed an atom. Raise your hand. Somebody in the comments, please. You've seen an atom with your own two eyes. But you think that we're made of them. I've definitely heard people say that. Definitely heard a lot of motherfuckers walking around talking about this made of atoms. Where you get that idea from? Well, you read it in a book. Written by another person. Right? So just because that's the overarching, but you have faith. You're using faith every day. You're using belief every day. And so ask yourself, you know, don't let them box faith up into this thing as like, this is what faith means. And if you don't do it this way, then don't do it at all. That's not it. Find a story. These stories, the purpose of that stuff, I personally believe, was to drive us as human beings to chase a higher ideal above ourselves. When I look out in the world, this is practicality for you in religion. When I look out in the world and I see the unhappy people versus the happy people, the people who look like they're living a heaven and the people who look like they're living a hell, right? The difference is one of those people is constantly trying to fulfill themselves. There's an ego in them that's constantly like, you need things. You need to take care of yourself. You need money. You need status. You need things from this physical reality to be okay. And you're fundamentally not okay unless you got those things, right? That's why I see a lot of people that self-serving behavior. And that's because they're not in service to anything greater than themselves, to an ideal, a God, the bigger whole, right? Like, I'm always trying to better myself so that I could be more to you guys, more to everybody else out here. You know, a better father, a better husband, a better athlete, a better speaker. You know, I'm always trying to build myself so I have more to give back to the whole, because I believe in that. You know, I believe that that's what I was put here to do, was to help to give back to the thing that makes us, right? So God, right? Essentially, I believe I have a service to, I call God the universe, right? I think of me, this is my personal beliefs now, but that God is the totality of all things, you know? That's what I think of it as, like, all the universe, all everything that's outside of this, the thing that knows what happens after you die, right? The thing that knows that can see both death and life. So it's this totality of all things. I said, it made me, this little itty bitty speck, this little itty bitty fucking dust, like a fucking twinkle. Why, right? Well, because without every single one of those twinkles, the God doesn't exist. It's like your skin cells. Which skin cell do you need that creates skin? Well, you need all of them. All of the skin cells add up to skin. So neither one or other, even when a skin cell dies and sheds off, it was part of the skin. It was a part of that. Without that, you have no skin, right? Because they're all the same. So that's what I started realizing. I'm in debt to the thing that gave me life. I need to give back to life. And so that gives me purpose. That's the one thing I think that a lot of people ran from Christianity. That's another thing. I ran from Christianity because it's hard. It's like, everything fun out here is a sin, you know? And it's like all this pressure on me. I'm like, dang, you know? But when I really started realizing it's not really necessary about that, you know? It's like we all, I think, create our own sins. You'll write up sins are something different to everybody. But the idea of sinning, though, we all know when we're doing something bad or wrong, or we're hurting the whole, right? We're stealing, or we're killing, or we're taking, or, I mean, even if you're just like being a nasty person, you know you're being nasty. You do it on purpose. You want that person to hurt, and you're trying to hurt them. You're like, oh, I'm gonna say something shitty to you so that you'll feel pain because I feel pain, or whatever justification. But you're trying to do that, right? Like, that's a sin. You feel that. So inherent, like I said, just inherent. Without that, I was like, what's the purpose of life? If I'm not to give back to life, if it's just random, well, then I might as well just kill everybody. Fuck it. I mean, why not? Why not just blow up a hospital? I mean, it doesn't matter. It's all random. So it's, might as well. But you see, you don't want to degenerate into that type of, you don't like that. Like, that scares you inherently, whether you think you've been trained that way or not. But it just sounds, right? So you don't. But that's because you're in service to life, right? Life gave you life. And so in return, you have to help protect it, grow it, give to it, yada, yada. But that's not an oppression. That's not, like I said, I find happiness in that. That's not, like, there's a gratitude in that. Like, I'm glad that I've been given all of this power so that I can exchange it back, Without that, it's like, well, then I didn't get life at all. This is deep philosophical conversation, guys. I'm sorry. I hope that you guys are able to stick with me on this, because I know I'm going on a lot of different tangents, but it's really deep in the sense of how our minds are attaching to religion and using these forces in our life. This is why it's prevailed, It provides these types of structures, and somebody said earlier, foundations for us to live a happy life, not an oppressive life, a happy life. But if you misuse those things, right, just like anything, I give you alcohol, it's supposed to be fun, but if you misuse it, what happens? It becomes a fucking oppressor. It's horribly detrimental to you. So religion and the Bible and all those things and God and faith and all those are the same, same. So that gives me happiness. Now that my life has purpose now. Because without that, it's just about me and what the fuck? What do I need? You know what I mean? How much money do you need? How many women is enough women? Like, how many times are you gonna just get drunk and fall on your ass? Like, it gets old after a while. It's the same. And you're constantly trying to fill this hole in yourself. And that hole you're trying to fill is lack of purpose. You don't know what life is about. So you just start grabbing a bunch of shit. It's like, I don't know. What are you doing out here? I don't know, trying to make myself happy. What's that mean? Oh, I don't know. More cars, more money, more fuck yous. And you don't know. And that's a never-ending process. And that's actually not a happy life when I think of it, right? But having a life that's fulfilled, where you feel like you have purpose, you know what you need to do, you don't need to be concerned with trying to get things or be something you're not, or you don't have to lie, you don't have to do any of these things, because you already have purpose inherently. Just go out and live your purpose and have fun doing it, right? And so that's cool. And then on the other hand, it provides safety and security for me, right? In the end, I laugh about this. Me and my brother talk about this all the time. You can educate yourself as much as you want to. You can study, you can read, and I encourage all of these things. The only way I got to this place is from studying and reading, right? Like all these different religions, talking to all kinds of people, hearing all types of different crazy ideas. I'm never afraid of an idea. Like, give it to me and let me see what I can do with it. Let me see what I can take from it. And everything that I think is bullshit from it, I'm going to leave behind, because I'm sure that there's both in everything. There is both in everything I've heard. Every single thing I've heard. I hear Republicans talk and I'm like, some of this shit makes total sense. Some of this sounds like asshat clownery. Listen to Democrats talk. I'm like, some of this stuff is really legit. And if our world was more like this, I would be really happy. And then some of the shit they say is fucking clown fuckery. I'm like, are y'all batshit insane? Right? So it works both ways. This is with every idea I've ever heard. But, so I don't dogmatically tie myself to it. I had to study and I had to learn. But after you do all that, you're always just going to fucking throw your name in the hat. You're always just going to throw your name in the hat. You can sit here and try and explain to me all day long why you like the color green or why you like the color red. Right? You can go on. My first car was red, and every time I see red things, it just really pops, and I'm just. But in the end, you just fucking like red because you just fucking like red. I don't know why. You don't really know why, right? It's just something that inherently gonna happen. So, nonetheless, you can come up with all these stories to explain this shit, but I got lost in that tangent right there. You can tell it happens. It happens. This is what happens when you don't structure all this stuff. You're just speaking from the heart. And so, nonetheless, the other thing it gives me, not only does it give me purpose, but it gives me safety and security, right? I choose, that's what we got to. In the end, you're just going to throw your name in a hat and say, this is what I choose to believe, right? After weighing all the pros and cons and looking at it from all different angles, I believe in science, right? Or I believe in this person. I believe this person's telling the truth. That's always a good one too, right? We're going to get in the court and we're going to listen to both sides of the people lie to our face, and then we're going to decide which one is telling the truth, right? It's just facts. That's facts, because they're both lying. They're both trying to tell the best truth and whatever. So anyways, you try your best, you learn, you develop, you think, you grow, you figure it out, right? You go and you read some of the Quran, go sit with some Muslims, go sit with some Christians, go sit with some, if you're a Republican, go sit with some Democrats, and vice versa, right? Take all these ideas, and then you throw your name in a hat, and you say, this is my belief, right? I believe in this. But ultimately, I told my brother, and me and my brother talk about this often, is I choose beliefs that I think are empowering, that help me. Flat out, that help me. That I can use to my benefit. Right? And so what's a good one? Okay, here's a good one. Is America racist? I don't really know. I don't know. I don't know everybody in America. I don't know what half of you motherfuckers out here think about other people and black people. I don't know if it's racist or not. Okay? But it helps me to believe that it's not. Okay? Because if I believe in a racist America, then I'm going to think that I'm at a lack. Like I'm not going to come out and work that hard today, because even if I work as hard as I possibly can, America's endemically racist and I can't get ahead anyways. You see what I'm saying? And so I don't care. Like, it could very well be true. Like, it could be, all that could very well be true. But I'm going to choose not to believe that, just so that I can feel like I could get a leg up out here, or that I feel like I could do something to better my life. I'd like to believe that I have control over my life. Some people like to believe they don't have control over their life. Now, have fun with that if you want to. It just seems scary, because then when you want control, you don't have control, and that sucks. But, some people believe that. They believe, like, astrology is in charge of my life. Depending on what my horoscope is, that'll be the type of day I have. Fine, fair, right? But you gotta ask yourself, now when you're having shitty days all the time, and it's like, well, why you keep having all these shitty days? Because my horoscope keeps making me have shitty days. It's like, dude, fuck that horoscope, right? Like, I mean, fuck that shit. Just make up some other story that you can have a good day, right? Like, so that you can have a good day out here. That's just how I think you fundamentally create your beliefs. And this is the hard part when people have been dogmatically force-fed their beliefs their whole life, as I was and stuff, and other people have. And then you're encouraged not to go outside and seek other stories and stuff. It's a very dangerous. Anytime somebody does that, they're trying to manipulate you inherently. It's like, don't go out here and look at any other ideas, because our idea, it's the only idea you need. It's inherently trying to play you. You know what I mean? Like, you're educated, you're strong enough to come up with a, but when you do have to be careful, because like I said, you might come out here, and that's what I did first, is like, I looked around and I was like, this shit is wrong, and then I threw out the whole practice, so be careful with that. But I chose beliefs that make me feel empowered, right? That's what I always say. I always default to a story that makes me feel stronger, more secure, more able, more positive, makes me feel like are people inherently good or bad? Like honestly, like are you born evil and then society makes you nice? Or are you born nice and sometimes the society makes you evil? I don't know. Again, I don't fucking know. I've seen some little kids come right out the womb just bad as hell, just terrible. And they got nice parents and shit too, and they still go off and become serial killers and shit. I've seen a lot of good people too, right? I choose to believe you're inherently good. Just makes me feel better. I like to believe that all of us out here would do the right thing if we are ever put in a situation. But will you? Will you do the right thing when you're put in the situation? I don't fucking know. Probably not, right? Probably not. But that's my point. Who cares? I don't care. I'd rather meet you, think you're a nice person, and then deal with those consequences than always afraid and always on guard for every time I see a person thinking that everybody out here is out to get me. That doesn't help me. That makes me afraid, lonely, scared, depressed, defeated. So, these beliefs, that's why I talk about it. It's important. You're going to choose beliefs either way. People do it all the time. You believe the news. You believe coronavirus, right? Have you seen where's the coronavirus? Somebody pointed out. Let me see it. Show it to me. Show me the facts. Show me the statistical data. Show me the, you don't know. Everybody out here like, this is what I think. This is what I think. And then eventually, when we come to an aggregate thinking, that'll be the truth. But we won't get the truth for like another 50 years. And then even then, it's only the truth until another 100 years comes by and they're like, well, those guys were dumbasses. Now we realize that this is the true truth. It's not, there's none. There's all fake. It's all subjective. So make that shit up. It is fake, right? It is. Christianity, the Bible, stories passed on from human to human. If you don't believe that, that's fine. That's fine. Have at it, right? But if you want to look at it logically, right? If you want to break it down and you want to pull back the storytelling mask, right? Yes, some person somewhere had to sit down with a pen and a paper and they had to write that fucking shit out, right? And so that came from a person. Just like the words that I'm speaking to you on this entire life came from me, my mouth. Do you think these are my words? Where did I get these words from? Oof, dang, gotta hit him with the church right now. Ooh, preach, pastor, preach. No, for real, where I get them words from? Well, they popped into my subconscious, or they consciously come into my mind as anybody talks, right? You just get ideas and you be like, yeah. So I'm in a sense regurgitating to you words and ideas that I got from, I don't really know where, a voice in my head. Let's call it God. Let's call it God, right? Or whatever you want to call it. Let's call it the subconscious mind. Whatever. Let's call it the spirit. Let's call it energy. Whatever. Let's call it mental brain power. Whatever, right? Call it whatever you want. But something that I can't see or explain or put a face on, out of the void. I love that, Daria, exactly. It's speaking to you. It's giving these words. And I can put them in book form and then write that, and it wouldn't make them any more or less true or false, right? And so, yes, there's stories. And I think that's where we got fucked up. Like, when they say David fought a giant, what does that mean? Does that mean it was a 70-foot tall person? Or does it mean it was just a really big-ass nigga? Like in Friday when Debo came, is Debo not a giant? Looked like a giant to me. If a Debo-sized person ever came upon me and was like, yo, I'm about to take your shit right now, I'm about to fuck you up, I would immediately be like, oh shit, I'm tiny, this dude's 7 foot tall, I'm fucked, right? But then I could be like, well, hey, in the Bible though, David took on Goliath, and Goliath was a giant too, so maybe, just maybe, God will give me the power, the courage, the ability, the whatever to kick this motherfucker's ass right now and survive this. And so then now here I go, trying to hit him with a slingshot, pow, get him in the eye or something, right? But if I don't believe in the idea of the giant or the metaphorical story, right? I never heard that story. I'm immediately going to think science. This guy is bigger, stronger, faster than me, so I am immediately going to lose and he's going to crush me. But life doesn't always work like that. And so I'm going to get crushed because I didn't have a belief in myself that I could overcome this obstacle. And so you see how that story, it's a metaphor. Why you watch a movie? Superman is not fucking real, right? You humans can't fly. But you watch them stories over and over of these people who fly and they fight fucking crime and shit. And there you are in your suit. Ba-da-da! I'm Batman. I'm fucking... It's like, what? What are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you wearing that suit right now? Because you believe in Batman and the idea of being superhuman and being able to rise to the challenges and kind of whatever. All these ideas that we take from stories. So those books, when you look at it like that, the Bible is the best self-help book ever written. And that's why it proliferates through time over and over. Does that mean gay people are going to hell? Probably not. Does that mean that, a giant is 70 foot tall? Probably not. When you flood the earth, does that mean that everything is... Probably not. But does that mean that the metaphors don't hold up? Probably not. That's probably not what it means, because the metaphors hold up. The ideas hold up. And this is the thing I want to leave you with. Thank you guys so much for the love in the comments. Last thing I want to leave you guys with this. And this is what I've really come to understand, that this shit is so powerful, right? It is about the stories. Life is about stories. That's why you make comic books, movies, books, television shows. If you get together with your friends and you get drunk on a weekend, what are you going to do? Tell each other stories of other times you got drunk or other funny shit that's happened to you in life and whatever. You're going to exchange stories back and forth. Your whole life has been nothing but stories. This is what happened to me way back in the day. Let me tell you a story about the time I got hit by a car. Let me tell you a story about this. Let me tell you a story about what happened to me last week. Let me tell you a story about what I think is going to happen to me next year. Let me tell you a story about what's happening in the news. Let me tell you a story about what I saw on social media the other day. Right? So it's this constant storytelling. You're doing that. And that's shaping your beliefs. And that's shaping the way that you view the world, what you think is possible and impossible, and how you interact with everything, what you believe to be true. If you believe Christianity is true, then you're going to act completely different than me if I believe that it's not. Okay? So Christianity, or Bibles, self-help stuff, anything that's trying to give people purpose, it inherently tries to mold your character. Because your character is the point of life, right? The point of life is to build yourself into a character, I don't really know what another good word is, but a soul, a spirit that does something to help the world or to help the overarching thing, right? But it's a building in yourself. You have to make yourself into this Christ, okay? So when they came up with like a Jesus Christ or like a Messiah, right? This idea of this ultimate figure, call him Neo, call it Superman, call them Jesus, call him whatever you want, but there's this person who lives the perfect life, you know, and from that perfect life of no sin, they have this ultimate power, right? This ultimate force that flows through them that can turn water into wine and that can do the impossible, you know, and can heal people and can do all these miraculous things, okay? That's the story that they're trying to give us, and that's a powerful story. The ideals might be different, but the idea of having a picture of an ideal and trying to work your way into that ideal is the name of the game out here, okay? It's the name of the game. A long time ago, I was like, okay, what would be the perfect life for me? What would be heaven for me? If I could look and I could live and I could see out in the world, what would heaven be like? If it was just the best life I could ever fucking picture, who would I be? Well, I would be somebody who helps others, and I would talk about mental health, and I would teach people about positive mindset principles and shit like that, right? Because I'm into that shit. I'm into personal growth. And so if I could think of the perfect life, it would be a life in which I help other people on their journey of personal growth and development. And so what does that mean? Well, who do I have to be? Well, I have to know what the fuck I'm talking about. You can't teach people if you don't know, so I gotta learn things. And I was like, I gotta get in shape. How fuck I'm gonna help other people take care of their body or to teach them the importance of spirit, mind, and body if my body's all fucked up and I'm sick and I'm out of shape and eating unhealthy. So I had to fix all those things in me. I had to overcome sins in my life to try to push myself towards my ideal, right? And as I pushed myself towards my ideal, I get happier and happier and happier as I move closer and closer to what I think is the most perfect, beautiful life, or a purpose-driven life. What I think, the story I've told myself that it means to be powerful or to give back or to be something of greatness or whatever, you know. The story, as I keep going on that, I talk a lot about progress, right? As I make progress towards my ideal, I feel so happy and elated. And guess what? I got freedom, because just like they said in the Bible, I'm still a sinner. You still sin. Am I perfect? Do I got it all figured out? Do I know? Do I never wake up sad? Do I never blow up on somebody or get angry or pissed off or get addicted to alcohol or to weed? I've done all these things, right? It's not about being perfect. You're not perfect, right? You're not Jesus, right? You're not the ideal. That's great though. You don't beat yourself up because you're not the ideal. You just constantly work your way towards it. And in that is purpose. What are you doing out here today, Rod? I'm trying to be my best version of myself. That seems like a great goal to have. It's not about money. It's not about fame, right? I'm trying to be the best version of myself I could be. Maybe the best version of yourself is a good parent. Is not an alcoholic anymore. You know what I'm saying? It could be anything. But this idea that you want to move away from a life of treachery, a life of sin, a life of hell, a life of oppression and pain and arduousness. And you would want to move towards a life of health and happiness and abundance and good relationships and love and power, right? You know, all these things that idea is a good idea. Okay? It's just a good idea. I don't care what wrapping you put in it. I don't care if you call the ideal Christ, if you call it your vision board, you know, if you call the ideal whatever, you know, whatever the fuck you're gonna call it, right? If your ideal is Machine Gun Kelly and you're trying to like live up to this ideal, that's fine, right? Don't beat yourself up when you're not Machine Gun Kelly, right? That's cool, right? Nobody listen to my music like MBK, so I feel bad, right? But you, every day, you take, I love his work ethic. I love his tattoos, right? And so you're doing you, trying to live up to that idea, whatever you choose to make your ideal. But the idea of making a vision for yourself, or a goal, or a Christ, and an ideal, and trying to live your way into your ideal is powerful. And avoiding the pit traps that try and suck you away from that and try and pull you down into a life of self-satisfaction, instant gratification, treating other people like shit, and just nastiness. That's out here too. And you're going to have to avoid that, and you're going to have to overcome that on your way. So, dude, it's powerful. This shit is powerful. And I truly believe, not just me, a lot of psychologists, people who study this shit, like Carl Jung, fucking Nietzsche, who else? Carl Jung, Nietzsche, all the people, Jordan Peterson now, all these people who have been in this like psychology vein, the best of the best over the last, say, 100 years. Even Nietzsche said, God is dead. All right? And everybody's like, yeah, God's dead. Nietzsche didn't say it like that. Nietzsche was like, God's dead. He was like, God's dead. And it sucks. And it sucks, dude. I see so many people complain and cry and act like life is hard, and they're sad, and they're beat up, and you're weak. And I'm like looking at you, and I'm like, why are you acting like this? And you know why? It always comes down to they don't believe. They don't believe. They don't believe in themselves. They don't believe it'll get better. They don't believe that something out here is guiding them or protecting them. They don't believe that they're blessed. You know, they believe they're beat. They believe that, Tim, I mean, maybe not. I mean, I think it is. I really do. I see when I look out in the world, I mean, it might not be dead to you, and God might not be dead to me, but as a society, we've definitely given up on the idea of a God, you know, as far as I can see. You know, it's not cool to be Christian anymore. Or it's not cool to be, like, if you were like, yo, I'm into religion and shit, people would call you corny. Or they would call you, I mean, even me, being the ultimate positivity guy, or the always trying to do better guy. I get a lot of shit from people who don't want to do better. You know what I mean? Like, they're like, I love being a sinner. You know, like, stop putting pressure on me to be better. You know, like, a lot of people don't want that shit. A lot of people just want to be miserable, you know? And so God's died a lot, but I think we're gonna find a renaissance here soon. I think we have to. I mean, look at coronavirus, right? Look at this quarantine shit. This shit exposed us so fast, bro. People got in their house for 10 seconds. Like, I take away your Gidgy gadgets for 10 seconds. Let me take your shit away. Let me take your bars away, and your video games and your iPhones. If the internet were to fucking die today, watch what happens to the world. Watch. Because to believe it or not, guess who everybody's God is right now? The almighty iPhone. That's your God. Say it's not true. Say people don't get up here if you believe in God, or if you believe in religion, Islam, all those things, the first thing you do is you pray to your God, right? That's like the first thing you do in your day is you honor your God, you show gratitude to your God in some way. Maybe it's doing the head bow prayer, or maybe what do we do? First thing you do when you wake up, you worship your God, right? The most important thing out here ever. The most important thing is the first thing you do when you wake up. What do? Check your phone. Check your phone, of course. Meditate? Psh, nah. Get a glass of water? Drink some water? Nah. Gotta make sure you didn't get no DMs, man. I know how I know, because I'm doing it too, right? But that's my point, is we worship now the almighty dollar. We love the almighty dollar, right? It's like, it's about making money. It's about, capitalism. So, anyways, but it's coming back. It's going to come back because this shit exposed us. As soon as I take all that Gidgy gadgets away, people will be like, damn, what's my life about? Like, I got all this money, got all this fame, but if I take away the cars, if I take away the idea of going to the bar, wearing the chains out, and getting all these little dopamine hits that you get from the little Gidgy gadgets out here, you take that shit away for 1 second, and people fall apart. And it's because they don't have purpose. They don't have something in life outside of the Gidgy gadgets. There's nothing outside the Netflix. It's like, and then you're miserable because ultimately that stuff's just a distraction. It's not really giving you satisfaction or fulfillment, right? Like, watching a Netflix show or binging through a whole Netflix series and then finishing it, what does that make you? How do you feel when you're done? You feel like you just want to binge something else. You're like, oh, damn, now I'm out of show. I gotta find another show, right? And so it's like, you know, these things are constant distractions away from figuring out what your ideal is, working towards your ideal, like, you know, sacrificing for your ideal, you know, trying to make a heaven out of your earth. Those are just keep you away from that stuff. So, you know, it's working on you. It's working on you guys, whether you think it is or not, whether you believe it is or not, right? But I guess if you don't, it probably isn't working for you or on you. I always say, and I'll leave y'all with this, it's one of my favorite quotes, right? What do I always say? Whatever you believe to be true is probably true for you. And so that's what it'll be. You know, if you believe God is dead, then God is dead, and good luck. You know, that's all I say. Good luck. I mean, I don't care. You know, that's on you. Good luck. But for me, I choose to believe in a God. I choose not to name it, and I choose not to get caught up in the dogma. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. You know, I think it's just different for every person. And so I've defined my God, and my God gives me power, and it gives me purpose, and guidance, and direction, and safety. It provides. A lot of my life is a miracle. When I look around, I'm just like, dang, it's crazy that I get to live this blessed life. And that's powerful. It makes me feel good. It makes me happy. And so I hope you take that with you. Like I said, not to encourage you today to join a religion or to pick a certain God or anything like that, but stay open to it, right? Stay open to the idea that maybe there is something bigger than yourself, you know? And maybe there is a reason that you were made and art that exists. And if you find that and live into that, you'll find heaven on earth. All right, I love you guys so much. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you tomorrow because it is now a daily grind. I got to get it. It's on my goals board. I got to get it. Got to get it.